everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services. And we're glad to have you here with us for this Tuesday, August 23rd, for our Small Business Boot Camp. We're excited for today's session as we've got a great new speaker with us. As we like to do, I want to first start by recognizing all of our community partners and thanking them. We could not do these boot camp sessions without their time, their effort, and their expertise. And this is just a quick sample of those community partners. So for those that are new and not familiar with the Small Business Boot Camp, it is an initiative designed to help small businesses of 20 employees or less prepare, plan, and grow their business. It is a statewide initiative supported by all those community partners. And not only is it our weekly webinar that we do every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., it is also a content library and a series of workshops that we've started for 2022 and will continue into 2023. So let's talk about that content library. The content library is an amazing resource that is available to you at no cost. Since the beginning of the boot camps, we've recorded all of our sessions except for a handful that we could not do the licensing, but we have over 220 recorded webinars. And you can go onto the content library. You can search through all 220, or you can sort by different categories. As you see there on the screen, there's 7 different topics you can sort through. And you can find those and go back and review them. You can share the links with others. We include the slide decks whenever possible to go along with the video recording. And so it is a great resource, again, available to you at no cost. And if there's a topic that you're looking for and you can't seem to find it, feel free to reach out to me directly. You probably got a reminder email about today's session. You can just respond to that and it'll go to me. And I can guide you to one of those sessions that'll help you with the information you're looking for. There are some other programs that the ACA has that can help support your small business as well. We have our small business services, our workforce, and our Arizona MEP, or Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Now, these programs are there to help support you as you look to start, grow, and scale. So feel free to contact us regarding those. And again, if you can't find the information on our website about those that you're looking for, feel free to reach out to me directly and I can guide you to that information. Another great program that we have is called the Small Business Checklist. And this is designed for those entrepreneurs that are looking to start or grow their business into new areas. And it helps entrepreneurs with the commonly requested licensing and registration and compliance needs at the local, state, and federal level. It also dives into industry level. So some industries require registration and different compliance needs than other industries. And it can help guide you through that along with the contact information for the various agencies and organizations. So with that, let's take a look at some of our upcoming sessions. Next week, we have a great session that's been in the works for a very long time. We've been working closely with the Arizona Department of Revenue to get this presentation ready to go. And we're going to talk about Arizona's changing laws on online retail sales, but not just Arizona's laws. We're going to look at the out-of-state sales as well. So if you're doing online retail or online sales of your business, the sales tax economic nexus across the country is interesting and can be complicated. And this webinar is going to touch on that to help all of you online retailers and online sellers. And then the following Tuesday is no-cost business support programs. I encourage everybody to join us and learn some of the programs that are state funded, federally funded, and no cost to help small businesses start, grow, and be successful. And so that's going to be a great presentation with the SBDC, SCORE, and the Women's Business Center. And then following that, September 13th is 6 steps to develop a social media holiday plan. We're talking about the holidays in September because you got to be planning now to make sure that November, December, you can maximize your impact during those months. So join us for that. So with that, we're going to jump into today's session. We've got Nicole Zeno. She's the founder and CEO of Clever Cow Media. You'll notice a little sign in her background there that she likes to help businesses make more moolah. and that's part of the Clever Cow media there. So Nicole has great entrepreneurial history and experience, and we're excited to have her with us today. So Nicole, I'm going to stop sharing and turn the time over to you.
Well, thank you for that introduction there. Hi, everyone. I'm going to start sharing here. All right. All right. Can you see my screen there, Robert?
Looks good.
All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about creating a marketing strategy to skyrocket business growth. Just before we dive in, I'd like to kind of go through and introduce myself. My name's Nicole. Like Robert said, I am the founder and CEO of Clever Cow Media. I also have an extensive history in building, starting, growing, exiting companies, as well as speaking and consulting with other companies on how to build their marketing plans, how to build towards growth. So I definitely have built Clever Cow to see your business from whatever spot you're in. So whether that is a small business who's looking to stay small and be local and just, have success in what they do really well, you're looking to become a local franchise, you're looking to expand nationwide, or you're even looking for an exit, that's how we look at our businesses and we help them hit those success goals. A few little facts about me. I started, my first company was nominated for a South by Southwest Interactive Award in 2014. I was named top 100 marketing leader by MARSUM, Marketing Advertising Retail Summit, twice in a row. I've spoken on multiple different panels for women in marketing as well as startup. I have been on news channels. I've spoken at Phoenix Startup Week as well, so you may have met me there. I recently sold one of my med tech companies to a San Francisco-based company, so definitely have seen business growth at all levels of different types of businesses. And quickly, I just wanted to go into the mission of Clever Cow Media. So Clever Cow Media's mission is to help build local economies through thriving small, mid, and startup-sized companies. And I think this is really important for you guys to know because we are very much a company that is built around small, mid, and startup-sized companies and growth, right? I worked in Fortune 100 and 500 companies in their marketing departments. And I saw a lot of things, a lot of techniques that they were using that small businesses weren't, and that they could have really benefited from. And so when I built Clever Cow, it was really around how do we help build local economies, help the small businesses thrive, and help them grow at a level that can compete with the bigger competitors. So I know you guys all have the chat there, and I want to hear a little bit. I want to just get a quick pulse, make sure you're alive this morning, have your coffee. In the chat, please put in what industry you're in, what are some of your biggest challenges, maybe what size company you are. I want to see who we're speaking to so I can try tailoring a little bit of this conversation to you. Anyone in the chat? Anyone alive today? Law, hospitality, wine, nice startup. I see some real estate, online training, data center. All right, we have a good range here today. Sales is a big challenge, it sounds like. Perfect. Import fitness. All right, well, this is going to help every single one of you guys. I think that I'm going to try to pack as much as I can into this 40 minutes, lots of value. But there is a chance I'm not going to be able to get everything in because there's so much to think about when you're thinking about putting a marketing plan together. And I see sales and marketing is a big challenge coming through here, medical. Wow. All right. Just a little housekeeping moving forward. We will have questions at the end. If you have a question, please click on the Q&A button, put it in there so that we don't lose your questions in the chat, but continue to use this chat throughout the presentation. All right. So what is a marketing plan? It's pretty simple. It's exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a marketing plan is a strategy that we use to achieve growth goals, especially in the context of attracting, retaining, and converting clients. Now, that seems like a duh, right? But what most people don't realize and what I see a lot with small businesses is that they don't put a plan in place. And so what's essentially happening is that they spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and don't see a lot of growth. And the reason for that is because I put this slide together to overwhelm you. This is just a fraction of the different things that go into marketing, right? Logos, HubSpot, keywords. These are all words you're going to hear as you start talking about marketing. And this is enough to make anyone crazy, let alone if you don't have a plan. A lot of that energy goes towards hitting each of these, but never really getting good at any of them. So my favorite thing to talk about, my favorite analogy to marketing plans is Batman. I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit of a geek, a nerd here for you guys, but if you think about Batman, he has a lot of gadgets, weapons, tools in his repertoire, right? But every villain he fights, he brings a different tool or gadget that's going to be, he's going to go into that fight with a different strategy depending on that villain. The same thing has to happen with marketing, right? And what's happening a lot with the trends that are going on is that small businesses, mid-sized businesses, startups, they're doing a lot of DIY, which is necessary in a lot of the early steps. But what's happening is that they're being told you can buy this $27 out of the box solution, or I'm the coach that's going to get you to $1 million. And they're not realizing that things have to be customized. You can't use the same tool to hit the same goal with different customers, different industries, different products. Quite frankly, you can have a cola company and completely copy Coca-Cola's marketing plan and still not succeed because it's not custom to your company. So you have to think about your goals. You have to think about where you're at. And these are things that Batman we can learn from him. So use different tools when achieving different goals. No two companies are the same. And really be careful about those online coaches and out-of-the-box solutions. There's definitely a spot for them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing online coaches or out-of-the-box solutions. There's definitely a spot for them. But for a growing small business, a lot of customers come to me and say, I bought these, I spent a lot of money, marketing just doesn't work for my company. And that's quite frankly just not true. Marketing doesn't work when you try to copy too much of another company's strategy, or you don't have a strategy. With that being said, let's jump into those mistakes that we constantly see all the time, right? So the first mistake I always see is that most companies that come to Clever Cow or other marketing firms that I've worked with is that they generally start about 6 months too late. And they're generally the conversation we have is that, well, I'm doing sales. Why do I need marketing? And the piece that you really have to remember is that marketing is not just about the current sales at the current moment. It's about your long-term success and your stay power through the market, through the industry, through the years. So if you want to grow, if you want to stay, you want to be a part of the community, you want to have brand recognition, you have to start marketing at an earlier period in your business plan. And quite frankly, I think that all startups and small businesses should be thinking about marketing, even if they're not ready to put the dollars to it yet, so that they know what they're working towards. They know how much that budget's going to be in the future. The second piece is that shiny object syndrome. And I know that everyone out there, I'm sure if I asked you to put it in the chat, everyone out there would say that they have fallen victim to the shiny object syndrome, where there's a new trend, there's a new dance on TikTok, there's a new whatever that is, and they jump to it instead of seeing if that's the right marketing tactic for their goals, for their customer base, for, if you jump on that TikTok, I like to use the TikTok dances because everyone likes to jump on that, and I get customers constantly calling me asking, Nicole, we need to get on Facebook, we need to get on Instagram, we need to get on TikTok. And then when we literally sit down and look at where their customers are, they're not on those platforms. So they're spending lots of money to try to hit customers who are not using the platforms they're trying to spend on. The best example to this that I have seen is actually the other day, I heard a fact that Gen Zers are 80% of the time are using TikTok to search for skills like how do I do my taxes versus Google. And what that means is that if you're spending lots of money on SEO or you're spending lots of money on keywords to hit Gen Zers, you're probably not going to get them. You're probably wasting your money because you're not on TikTok where they are searching. So remember to always build your plan and always decide where you're going to spend your money based on where your customer is. Confused messaging is a huge one. We see it all the time. If the company internally doesn't know what their messaging is, or they are selling towards what they're good at versus what's going to help the customer, it's just going to feel confused. Customers will be confused. And even if they don't know they're confused, it's going to hurt the sale and it's going to hurt the marketing. Not training properly is another big one. We can put all of the processes, all of the marketing, we can do all the technology, but if we don't train our teams to use it, if a tree falls in the woods, do you hear it, right? It's the same situation. And then obviously not listening to your customers. So feedback is super important. Marketing is not a set it and forget it piece. Every year you should be looking at these marketing plans and adjusting based on the feedback that you're getting from your customers. If you are not listening to your customers, you are missing out on lots of amazing data that can really help your marketing budget and timeline and effort in the future. But really, it all comes down to this is the big question that we always ask our clients. I'm sure I may even have a client or two on here. They could tell you I'm constantly a broken record around this question. What does success look like? And I can go through all of the tips, all of the tricks. I can teach you exactly how to put a marketing plan together. But if you are not in line with what success looks like for your company, it's never going to be enough. And this question is super important, not just to make sure that you are on a page where you know what you're heading towards and what goals you're trying to achieve, but also as things come up within the 6 months or the year timeline that you're on and that your marketing plan is built for. Let's say that TikTok trend comes, or someone tells you they did really well on email marketing and you need to switch to this CRM, right? You can sit down and look back and say, does this fit what my success looks like? Does this fit where my goals are going? And defining that success could look different for every company. I'm sure you're sitting there saying, of course, Nicole, everyone's success is going to be revenue. It's not necessarily true. You would be shocked at the different types of success everyone talks about. And this question really came, to head when we kept getting clients. We had this trend where we were getting clients where they were coming in and they were just saying, we tried marketing in the past and it just didn't work. I don't see the benefit. Our company cannot use marketing. Marketing's not good for us. And we started to really dig down into what the reasoning for this was. And what we found was that a lot of times marketers and marketing agencies and freelancers and whoever was doing the marketing for small businesses, which could be a whole array of people, weren't asking the right questions. They were saying, look at the success. We have thousands of followers. And the CEO who was running, or the CMO who was running the small business said, yes, but I want revenue, right? And so with that disconnect, they weren't seeing that marketing could work for their company. So really drilling down on what does success look like for you, and it could change, right? Every time we talk about a marketing plan, that success might change. And that success could look like ROI, it could look like followers, community building, brand recognition, it could just look like growth, opening a new location, hiring new employees, new products, new revenue streams. It could be churn. How do we keep our clients coming back for a second or third order? How do we increase their average per checkout value to us, right? These are all different types of success. And if you think about it, I may not use the same techniques to hit how do we get our customers to come back and order again, as I will to how do we get new customers, right? These are just different success paths. So once you have your success all figured out, then we start thinking through the 3 pillars of building your marketing plan, which is the who. So who's your buyer? Where are they? Where are they consuming their media? A 80-year-old woman in the South is going to get her media somewhere different than a 22-year-old in New York, right? Like it's just a different buyer. They're going to be finding their products differently. One might be listening to local news channels or their church group. Another one may be looking at TikTok, right? They may be looking at Instagram. They may be looking at ads, right? So you're not going to want to build a strategy that hits a demographic that you're not speaking to. If that's not your product buyer, then we want to cut that out of the marketing plan. Remember that big slide with all the different marketing types of tools? We can cut some of those out just by looking at who's the buyer, where are they, where are they making their decisions to buy, and then also what's their pain points? What is the challenge that your product is solving? Remember, we're not talking about what amazing features your product has or how great your company is. That there's a time and a place for that, but we're talking about how can your product solve their problems or make their lives better. The other thing with marketing plans is that we're going to look at a marketing plan for every 6 to 12 months. Yes, we're going to talk about 3 years, 5 years down the line. And when you're talking about success, it is really helpful to find success for 6 months, a year, 3 years, and 5 years, because it allows you to have a bigger vision and plan. But every time we build a new marketing plan, that buyer might change. So let's say you are really good at selling to college students. You may not have to put a lot of marketing right at this time into the college students. You may want to put it into expanding into moms or parents or, whatever that looks like, athletes, right? You may want to put your time and effort into that specific buyer persona. And so this will change every time you think about your marketing plan. The second pillar is budget. Of course, we need to think about budget. So now we have what our success is, we have who we're going for. Now we need to think about the budget and the timeline piece, which will help you significantly cut down on the amount of things you can do. I'd rather you do a few things really well and make sure it fits into a budget that you feel comfortable spending than you trying to stretch your budget too far and not do anything well at all, right? So we always think about who's our buyer, what's the goals we're trying to hit towards, how can we fit it into that budget? Is there things that we can phase? Is there things that we can get 80-20 rule where we can get 80% of what we want for 20% of the effort? Is there things that we can build into a longer timeline? So instead of trying to get it done in 3 months, we can try to get it done in a year, and that will stretch the budget out much longer, right? How do we fit these 3 things into, how do we fit our goals into these 3 buckets, essentially? With that being said, once you have that kind of figured out, those buckets, you're going to start thinking about the tools you're going to use to get to that goal, right? There are so many different things out there that are considered marketing. This is just a fraction of them on this screen right now. But what I really want you guys to consider is that a good marketing plan is balanced between different types of marketing. One trend that we saw in 2019, pre-COVID, was that everyone was moving towards this digital marketing trend, which is great. Digital marketing can be easier, it can be quicker, it can be cheaper sometimes if you're doing it right, not all the time, but there are ways to get to your audience, to find new clientele on a quicker, cheaper way. You can reach more people and reach them quicker with the digital marketing tools. But with that being said, COVID completely sped up that process. And what we saw was that companies were going 100% to digital, forgetting about all the other types of marketing out there. And what we find is that a marketing plan, customers of ours that have marketing plans where you can incorporate traditional or network marketing into that digital plan, they see much higher returns. They see much quicker returns. So doing things like network marketing, joining your chamber of commerce, attending networking events, conferences, masterminds, even the ACA, right? Right here, we are networking. Since I joined the ACA, I know that I've met so many people, and it's just been a very big help to getting your mission out there, meeting new people, getting your product out. Incorporating that into your digital marketing plan is key. Obviously, digital is social, web, Google, ads, automation, all the cool things that everyone wants and shiny objects. I don't think I need to go into it that far. I think all of us here know what digital marketing is. But then you have the traditional marketing, billboards, swag, all these little things that have our logos on it. I think we have Clever Cow did these really cool pins recently. These are all traditional marketing, print work, flyers, events that you put on, direct mailers. A lot of people are going to say that that's dead. And it does cost a little bit more, right? A little more upfront to print the pins or to print the swag or to send the direct mail. But when you pair it really nicely with digital, you see an increase. One stat that we found is that you've probably heard it takes 3 to 5 touch points before anyone buys a product. Since COVID, it now takes 5 to 7, and in some industries, 7 to 9 touch points. That means that if we are not touching your customers, it's out of sight, out of mind. So using all of these different pieces to get as much that you can out of your marketing plan is really helpful. The last thing I really want you to consider when you're building this marketing plan is, what is your long-term goals? Most marketing companies will never talk about this piece of it, but it really does make a difference. Are you looking for an exit or an M&A, right? A merger and acquisition? Are you looking for investors or venture capital eventually? Are you looking to be the face of the company, but maybe not be in the day-to-day? Are you looking for this to be your forever company, or for it to be a family business that you hand down over generations, right? Are you looking to go public? Are you looking to retire? These are things that need to get taken into account. And the reason I'm not going to go too far into it, but the reason I want to bring it up is that when you're thinking about your marketing plan and where you spend your budget, that long-term goal can change where you put your money. For instance, I had a customer. They came to me, they really wanted to be thought leaders in their industry. They wanted to do blogs and ebooks, and they want to put lots of content out there. And if any of you have ever done content, you know it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of money. And it is a slow burn type of reward. You're not going to get instant gratification unless something happens to go viral. It is a very long road. But I found out that they wanted to exit within a year. And when they wanted to exit, the people looking to buy them wanted to see bottom line revenue. They didn't care if they were thought leaders in the industry. So these are things that we really need to think about. What is our long-term goals? Make sure that that is really fit into where you're spending your money, because it's not about being on social or sending out emails. It's not about just doing the activities. It's about making sure you're getting the most money, the most benefit for the time and effort you're putting in, and also to make sure that you're hitting your goals and you're constantly moving towards those growth goals. And I like to bring these up too, because marketers tend to be and I see, what is M&A again? It's merger and acquisition. So if you're looking to merge with another company or get acquired by another company, a lot of small businesses don't necessarily exit or get bought out. They generally merge and get acquired. But I bring this up also because marketers can be a little fluffy sometimes. They can talk about really, it's hard to track things. It's hard to put numbers towards it. It's hard to really talk about marketing and growth. And it is true. In sales, it's really easy. Things are based on numbers, right? How many emails were open? How many were sent? How many converted? How many were opened into opportunities? And in marketing, there is ways where things can be a little bit tricky to track, but don't let that fool you. You should have tracking with your marketing plan. And we'll go into that in a second. All right, so just some quick tips on marketing plans. Everyone needs a marketing plan. I don't care if you are brand new, you have a small business, you are one person, you're a solopreneur. I don't care, you need a marketing plan. And that may be that you're DIYing a little bit right now. It may be that eventually here's the marketing plan you want to get to, but you need to get to X amount of sales to get there. Everyone needs to start thinking about marketing now. And one of the main reasons that I always say this is because the startups that I've worked with who end up getting great venture money, a lot of times they forget to add marketing to the budget. So when they get that great startup money, they get that app built, they get that software done, they go to market and they don't have any money because they didn't think about their marketing plan. Marketing is not something you tag on afterwards. It's something that needs to be drilled in and built into your business plan. And I know it's a dirty word out there. Marketing is sometimes this dirty word. Don't be afraid of it. Bring in experts if you need, talk to people, reach out to us here at Clever Cow. We will help you. We will let you try to figure out how do you get from point A to point B. And the other thing is, a lot of times we see clients who are afraid to go after that big goal because they just don't know what the middle ground is. And when they sit down and talk to someone or start building that plan, they realize it may not be as hard as they think. So really look at that, think about that. Start building your plan early. And I kind of just went through that. Always plan for 6 to 12 months. Every corporation will tell you they plan 12 months in advance. They put their budget together. Their marketing team knows what goals they're hitting and they go for it. If your team doesn't know what goals they're hitting, how are they supposed to hit them? I just don't. But small businesses sometimes need to start planning in 6-month increments. 12 months is too much to think about, and that's fine. Start planning in 6-month increments. I wouldn't go lower than 6 months because you really don't see a lot of results sometimes until 6 months. Attach KPIs to all goals. And I see there's some questions about KPIs. I will go into what KPIs are and how to attach them. Start with success and pick your tools backwards. So once again, let's not pick tools just because there's a shiny object. Let's make sure that they fit your success. And don't try to achieve too much. So really figure out where you're at. Just because Apple is doing something doesn't mean that your company can do that thing. They spent how many years getting to where they are? You are not at that spot. Now, can you want to become Apple? Can you want to build to a point where you can have that same marketing plan or that same marketing budget? Yes. But if you try to be Apple now, you are going to get disappointed real quick. And it's going to cost you a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of tears and a lot of everything. So it's okay. Give yourself grace. Find where you are now. Don't try to achieve too much. One of the other things that I like to talk about with this not achieving too much is when you're building out your goals, remember, you're a small business. You probably have 10 million hats to wear. So I like to pick 2 goals that are more long-term, right? 2 pieces that are a little bit more long-term, maybe social media or thought leadership or SEO, where it takes a while to see results, but you have to be consistent. You have to start now. And then 2 goals that are more low-hanging fruit, right? How do you see results up front so that you don't get discouraged? You start seeing results. You start seeing some of your money coming back. Even though the long-term plays are still playing out. Technology, how does it factor in? I know, scary. There's so many technologies out there, but technology can be really important in measuring, training, automation, reporting, community building, time management, all these things. And I am someone who says, let's figure out the process, let's do it manually, let's make sure it works, let's tweak it. Once it's ready, then let's find the technology and build it and automate it. But pro tip, do not just add more technology on top of broken processes. It's not going to help you. You're just going to end up spending a lot of money on a lot of technology. Figure out how to fix those processes first, then add the technology afterwards. All right. KPIs, key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are so important, and most marketers will tell you that there's lots of things they can't track. It is complete BS. You can track everything. It might look slightly different though. So for instance, let's say you have a billboard. Everyone always brings the billboard to me and they say, how do you track a billboard? Well, yeah, there's not. In this day and age, you can now have the digital billboards where they track as, you know, phones are going by, how many people see it, all the things, the same way you can online. But let's say we don't have that fancy technology. We're not spending on that type of billboard. What I would do is see how many new clients or even return clients or purchases are happening in certain zip codes. Pick the zip codes around that billboard who are most likely to see that billboard on a daily basis and see if there's an increase of orders in those zip codes. You can attribute maybe 20% or figure out what that number is to that billboard. And if you see an increase, you know it's probably working, right? It's not an exact science like ads or like email opens, but there is a way to track it and to say this is a KPI. Some examples of really good KPIs for small businesses and startups outside of the normal revenue sales numbers is things like, maybe if you're looking to build your community, it's followers. Followers don't always go towards revenue, so that's a hard one for me. But number of customers, number of customer service requests. So let's say you want to cut down on the bugs, or you want to make sure the user experience is really well on your app. Are you getting hundreds of customer service requests? Can you cut them down to only 50 through education, through user training, through knowledge base, right? Churn numbers. Are people coming back? How much is their average value per order? Can you increase that by even 10% or $10? If you have hundreds of orders and you increase all of the average orders by $10, that makes a big, chunk of profit that you weren't getting before. These are all numbers you can track. If you are the CEO and you want to have better time management, maybe you're tracking the amount of requests and you do a whole marketing campaign internally on training your team, and you see how many requests you're getting on a daily basis, and you see that decrease, right? Is your team doing more? Are you spending less hours on that type of stuff? Things like that. There is a way to measure everything. The last piece that I want to bring up on this a little bit is presence versus ROI. So marketing and brand presence is a very important thing. Brand recognition, especially in your if you're a local small business in your local community, sometimes you're going to spend money on things like sponsoring an event so that people see your logo, but doesn't necessarily relate to ROI. And in that sense, you want to make sure there's something else, there's some other sort of success that you're trying to measure, so that you're not necessarily relating it just to revenue, because that may be one of those touch points in that 5 to 9 touch point, piece that you're not seeing directly to orders, but is still helping your community know who you are and know what your brand is. So just some quick tips on key performance indicators, and then I'm going to run through the rest of these really quick because I'm seeing that I'm going a little slow here, guys. But quick tips. So set up your processes to measure. Every time you have a goal, there should be, at the very beginning, you should pick at least 1 to 3 key KPIs that you're measuring. What are those numbers? How are you going to measure them? What does success look like? If everyone is on the same page with what that looks like, everyone will be going towards those goals. And it also makes it really easy to say no to things. We as small business owners do not say no to things. We need to say no to things. So if a new trend comes out and it's not going to help us get to our goal or to our success or see in our KPI, maybe we say no to it. And that's okay. Use technology to make processes more efficient. Don't just slap technology on as a band-aid. Let's make once you have your process that's working, let's say we know every 70 people through your funnel means 2 orders. Then we say, okay, let's use technology to get hundreds of people through the funnel so that we can double, triple, increase the quantity of orders we have. Start with your baseline numbers. Always take baseline numbers so you know where you start at, and then decide on a cadence to pull numbers. If any of you have ever tried to lose weight, you know that stepping on that scale every day is not going to help, but coming up and saying, I'm going to step on the scale once a week on a Monday, you know that that's your weigh in day. You can see a more objective view, and this way you don't start tweaking too early. And get at least 4 to 6 weeks of data in before you tweak. Many of our clients get really nervous. They know they put a lot of money in up front. They not in the week 1 and 2, they're not seeing the results they want. They automatically want to tweak. But once again, remember, it takes people time of seeing things before they may buy. And so you may have a delay of a few weeks. So you don't want to start tweaking before you get past that delay, because then you might tweak too far in the wrong direction and not ever really see what works and what doesn't. All right, so a lot of you guys are probably overwhelmed, or you're saying to me, Nicole, I can't figure this all out. I need help. When should you hire marketing help? This is a really important slide, because just like all of us out there have probably done, we can go to Fry's, we can go to Walmart, we can buy a nice steak, we can grill it in our backyard, and it'll probably be pretty damn good. But every once in a while, we want to go out there and we want to get that really great steak, and we have to pay a chef who's classically trained and knows what they're doing to grill us an amazing steak. And that steak could be the same one, but it's going to taste better, right? Sometimes you need an expert's help. And that's the #1 time you should hire marketing help. If you are overwhelmed, even if you just want a consultant, or you're not sure how to, you may know you need to do this type of marketing, but you're not sure how to, find an expert. Find someone who can help you through the process. Find your, wizard who's going to help guide you through this. Don't have enough resources. This is the #1 reason that small businesses either lower their budget, lower their goals, or come find, someone like us, is that they don't have enough resources. They can't achieve the goals they want in the time frame they can with the people they have, because generally you're small teams. You either at that point have to make your goals more realistic, make your budget more realistic, or come hire some people to help you. I like to say not to hire a marketing agency until you have at least $1,500 a month in budget. This doesn't mean you can't market until you have $1,500 a month in budget, but with a marketing agency, it's really hard for an agency to show you value and to get what you need on less than about $1,500 a month in marketing budget, and that's even fairly low. You will not be doing ads on $1,500 a month. I'm just letting you know right now, you will not do Facebook and Instagram ads, and any company that tells you they can, you're probably going to get ripped off. Just saying, because $1,500 a month is a small marketing budget, and we'll go over how to calculate your budget here in a second. And lastly, you don't want to be your company CMO. We find that a lot of small businesses, we wear the hats, we try to DIY. It takes us 3 times as long to do anything, and you're really costing your company more money than it would have been to just go pay an expert to do it. If you don't want to be your company CMO, your chief marketing officer, you don't know how to build a strategy, or you don't want to be the one project managing and, pushing the boat forward, then then find an expert who can help you get to where you need to be. And those experts can look like freelance or agency. I won't go too far into this, but freelance, generally, you're going to be doing the project management. You're going to be doing one-off projects. You're going to have to, guide them into the strategy. With an agency, they can work on more of a one-off, a retainer. They can be more generalized. Pro tip, agencies like Clever Cow, like what we do, it's very big for us that we can help with the strategy And then we work with an ecosystem of creative agencies to help you execute that strategy. But we do all the PM, we do all the everything on one budget so that you're essentially getting a CMO without having to hire a CMO. Lastly, I get asked all the time, what do I look for when I am hiring an agency? Make sure they're a great personality fit. We turn away clients all the time because we are just not the right fit for them. It's a marriage. You are going to be married to these people. I don't succeed in my company unless you're succeeding in yours. One-off jobs just don't do it for agencies. They need growth. They need their customers to see that they are seeing results as well, and they need to grow those engagements. So make sure it's a good fit. They ask you the right questions. They build a strategy that's not based on what they're good at. We see this all the time. They give you a strategy, it's based on what they're good at, not what you need to hit your goals. And they're basing it on goals. They ask you what your goals are. You would be shocked at how many agencies do not ask what the goal is and just sell you on services. I have a few more slides here, Robert. I'm just going to quickly, I'm coming down to the last ones here, but I think this is really important. Budgeting. Most companies do not budget enough for marketing. If you are looking to hit a target revenue, you should be budgeting between 5 and 25% of that budget, of that target revenue in your marketing in order to see the correct ROI to come back. Like we talked about, pick 2 to 4 goals. Half of them should be long-term, half of them should be low-hanging fruit. See some results in the beginning, but also build the consistency for a long-term plan. And don't try to accomplish everything. So I'm gonna walk through these. Let's get moving. Any questions that we have? I know I tried to pack as much in there as I could. I'm sure there's questions. Let's see what they are.
Yeah, go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. That way we can go in order, those that come in for Nicole. But I want to reiterate that in the time I've spent working with small businesses and in a previous job I had as well, working with small business owners that had franchises, a lot of times in that budgeting and that financial planning process, looking a year, 2 or 3 out, sometimes they weren't putting enough marketing in, their plan. And so if you're looking at, your funding plan, how you're going to have funds for the next couple of years, make sure you budget that, plan that in there and look at it, at least look at it in there and see what it does. And, you can work with the Nicoles of the world, the agencies to help identify, if we spend X amount, how much should that increase my revenue? And then adjust your plan accordingly and work to make it happen.
Yeah, and the last point is to that, Robert, is that just because you may be maybe a B2B company and you say, oh, we only need a sales team, we don't need marketing, you still need someone to help enable sales by making them the right materials to send out, to make sure that the messaging is clear, right? So there are ways that marketing can be more integrated into sales. Just because you have a B2B company doesn't mean you don't need marketing in your budget. All right, well, while I'm not seeing any questions coming in, which either means that I overwhelmed you guys too much or I gave you enough information, is it possible to get grants to use for marketing? That's a really good question. Robert might be able to give you a little bit more insight. The only thing I say is that there's so many ways to fund a small business and a company. It's not just venture or investors. So grants are a great way, but check with your local Roberts of the world.
Yeah, you have to look, when it comes to grants, one, you have to look and see what the grant is for. There may be some specific parameters around it. And then 2, I like to tell everybody, there's not really a lot of grants for businesses out there. You can find grants for businesses, but they usually have, very narrow guidelines, whether it's Department of Defense or something very specific in mind. But there is a misconception that there's lots of grants to help start businesses, and there's generally not. And then when there are some, you'll see maybe FedEx has a grant or Verizon or someone. They're competitive grants nationwide with a handful of awardees. And so I don't like people to count on grants as they're planning their budgets to get going and their funding, because generally harder to find and get the grants that may be out there.
Great. We have a few questions here. So one is, what are some tips you have for networking events? Networking events, yay. Find the right one. There's so many of them out there. So many times I go, and it's just more marketers that are trying to market to me. Find the right ones. When you find the right networking events that feel right to you, if it's intimidating and you have to walk in a room and do speed networking and that's just not your thing, don't go to that event. There's so many of them. And it doesn't have to be a networking event necessarily. Joining things like the Chamber of Commerce, joining things like the ACA, and going to these events, you will inherently meet people who are doing things that may need your services or may need your products. So really, my biggest tip for any sort of networking environment is talk to as many people as you can. And I know all my introverts out there are like freaking out, but just know what your message is, know what your elevator pitch, and just talk to everyone, because you never know where you're going to find your next lead from.
And Nicole, I want to give an example.
Yeah.
Nicole's on with us because she attended a mentor event on our entrepreneur innovation side of what we do. And we were just in the morning networking before that started. I was talking to Nicole and found out what she did and so forth. And we talked some more and invited her to come on the boot camp to share her experience. And so there are a lot of networking events out there where you can meet people and get your name out or share your expertise, if that's how you want to market. That may be a market.
Robert, it goes even further. I actually found out about the ACA and got introduced to Mark through a contact that I met on LinkedIn. So you just never know who's going to introduce you to who. So just talk to everyone, tell your story to everyone, get out there. And so a lot of people are going to say no, but we're business owners. We have to get used to that.
Yep.
Okay. Can a business focus on building community and increasing brand awareness with marketing strategy? Absolutely. 150%. You can focus on that community building, on that increasing brand awareness. You can do lots of the things like the social and the blogs and becoming an expert, doing speaking engagements like this, being on the news channels, do all of the stuff. What I say to that though is, because it's not directly related sometimes to revenue, and because we're small businesses who need to be making revenue in order to succeed, make sure you tie it to a KPI that you can measure, so that you see there is little successes and that you're getting to your goal point. So make sure there's a clear goal, it's a clear KPI, and that there's a lot of ways to spend a lot of time, which also equates to money, in doing community building, if anyone's tried to do social, you wake up in the morning, you get on, next thing you know, it's 2 p.m. Make sure you're setting parameters around what you're spending time on, which pieces are working. How are you going to measure that? Otherwise, you can go down a very deep rabbit hole and never really get to any major goal. I would say it's probably most important with those pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. With that, an example I want to share is I was working with one of our, again, previous position I had. I was working with a franchise owner, and I was going through their P&Ls and analyzing the form, and I was talking with them. I'm like, what are you getting out of this marketing expense? Because they were spending a lot of money on their marketing, and they couldn't share what their returns were. They didn't know their KPIs. They didn't know their numbers related. They just thought they had to spend that much, and they wanted to keep spending it, but they didn't know if it was actually making them money or not.
Yeah. I see it a lot. And once again, it doesn't have to necessarily be equated straight to money. I would say you probably want some of your goals to be related to revenue, because we're businesses, not hobbies. But at the same time, there are going to be things you have to do that are just necessary marketing things. Just make sure that you have some way of knowing if they're succeeding or not. Are they bringing in new leads? Are there new people on your newsletter? Is there new questions and forms being filled out every day? Are they downloading, right? Like whatever that is, that success is, make sure you can measure that. and then you can see if it's working. And don't be afraid to fail. Like half of marketing is trial and error. And then once you find the right piece and the right way to do it, now you tweak it to make it better and better. You're gonna fail at things. It's not gonna be perfect every time. It's just not obtainable or realistic.
That was a perfect segue into this next question from Joe. It says,
Oh.
what do you think about spending money on LinkedIn services, premium, etc.?
My question to you, Joe, would be, is your key buyer that you're trying to hit on LinkedIn? Or the other reason that I would recommend LinkedIn is if you are trying to find investors in the future or have an exit. Another way to think about it is that maybe my buyers are not on LinkedIn, but I want investors to know who I am. So making sure that that information's out there, that's proving when someone looks you up that you are the expert in that industry, right? So if your buyers are not on LinkedIn, don't spend the money on LinkedIn. If they are, we have seen some pretty good results with LinkedIn. And so I wouldn't necessarily write it off just for being LinkedIn. So but with LinkedIn, it's so much different than other social medias. You have to be really careful. It's very specific on industry, who you're going after. Like there's very specific niches on LinkedIn. Anything outside those specific niches, not really all that helpful for you. So I would be really thoughtful about who you're trying to hit when you're on LinkedIn. And I can go further, Joe, if you want to reach out, I can go further into that for you. That's a rabbit hole that I don't know that everyone needs, but just Robert, I did put my contact information there. So if anyone does need me to go further into any of these, please reach out.
Excellent. Well, we got like 2 questions left, I think. Okay. One is, how do you track direct mail campaigns?
Yeah, direct mail is tough because the main way to track direct mail is if you put a very specific code. Generally what we see is a great way is saying, like, if you come in and bring in this card, you get a free gift. There's a reason they do those free gifts. Yes, it costs you a little bit more, but that's how you track it. If you're not going to do the free gift, then it's very similar to the billboard. Where are you sending these direct campaigns out to? What zip codes are they hitting? Are you seeing an increase in sales or orders from those zip codes? It might be a little more wishy-washy. One way that a friend of mine who opened a cafe down in Scottsdale did it was she went out and handed out flyers, and on the back of the flyers she put a code, not for anyone to do anything, but when she got flyers back in, she could see what zip codes they were coming from just by writing the code on the back and knowing where she was handing them out. And that was just a way for her to track, right? So finding creative ways to track, there's always a creative way on that. Yeah.
Excellent. Great response. All right, we have one from Richard. It says, for companies seeking investment, how would you balance marketing the company versus its CEO leadership team? Are these 2 separate topics or really one and the same?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would say you have to be clear on goals. I know I sound like a broken record here, but is the CEO or leadership team, when someone's coming in for investment, you have to be careful on if that person leaves the company, is the company still valuable? Are you boosting that person's expertise or the company's value? And then also, what is that CEO or leadership team's role? Like, what are their goals personally? If their goal is to be the face of the company and to be the experts, like for instance, a really great example of this is Spanx, right? Their founder is very much an influencer out in the market. She's not doing the day-to-day anymore. She just sold off the company, but she is, synonymous with Spanx. If that's their goal, then you may want to spend some money. It is proven that people want to buy from experts. So it is a great marketing plan to spend some money on those CEO and leadership teams. If they're planning to leave, or they're really uncomfortable in front of a camera, you may not want to spend that money. It may look really bad for the company on an investment schedule. So I think it really depends on what is the product you're selling on that company. Who are the types of investors? Robert, you know this. No 2 investors are the same, right? If you're going for a tech investor, they care about very different things than if you're going for a real estate investor, right? So who is the investor you're looking at? what do they care about, and then pivot your plan based on what they care about. If they care only about revenue and bottom line, then only do marketing things that you know is going to bring in quick revenue. If they care about community and your user base, then building up that community branding, including your CEO and your leadership team, would be very beneficial. All right. I just want to, last thing, Robert, that I just wanted to throw out there. There is a QR code in this presentation right here. If you want to go download these slides, I know I went through a lot of information. Please feel free, fill out the form. We'll send you the slides. The other thing we're trying to plan on doing is building out a weekly email that gives you very specific small chunks of marketing to do today that will help you build your marketing in the future. So it's directed directly at small businesses. So please reach out if you have any questions. Follow us on Instagram. We're growing just like you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. We appreciate you being on with us today. Appreciate everybody for attending and being part of this boot camp. And we are at the hour, just a hair past, but that is okay. With that, again, we want to thank Nicole for sharing her time this morning with us. And we invite everybody to come back and visit us again next Tuesday morning as we talk about taxes for online businesses. Taxes aren't the most exciting topic, but this is going to be a good session. So we hope to see everybody on Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Until then, everybody have a great week. Thank you.